So first, I just want to ask you to just tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your school district. What is it like?
We're Reynoldsburg City Schools. We're about 7,800 kids. Very, very diverse, extremely diverse population when it comes to ethnic background, economics, international influence, and that sort of thing. So we've been a very transformative district in that 10, 12 years ago, we looked very, very different than we do today. And one of the draws for me to even be interested in coming here was the fact that it was so diverse, and that continues to grow. So I think that makes us very rich and provides our students with a really good opportunity to get a sense of what the world is.
Great. And how long have you been with the school district?
Just finished my third year.
Okay. Okay. So this is a pretty eventful. It's a pretty eventful third year.
This 1 year feels like 4. My 3 years feels like 8.
Right. Right. So at a certain point, you realized that graduation was not going to be able to proceed as normal. What was going through your mind? When did you realize that, and what went through your mind?
We probably realized that sometime toward the beginning or middle of April. We knew that was going to be an issue. We knew we wouldn't be able to do a traditional gathering of our students. And so initially, our first initial idea was simply to do a virtual graduation. We put out some information about what that could look like, took some feedback from the community, and decided that once we got some more guidance as far as what spaces could look like from our health department and from the governor's office, we decided we'd be able to do something that would allow us to honor each individual kid in some way. So we looked at actually a couple of districts all throughout the country who were doing some pretty innovative things. And this is one idea that we saw out there that would work well for our facility and the things we were trying to do. And we tried to enhance it with some other things that we wanted to provide in conjunction with that process.
So tell me about what the plan was that you developed.
So yeah, what we ended up doing was we have a beautiful football stadium. So we said that was going to be our venue. We have about 560 graduates. We set up appointment times for each of those students over the course of 2 days, from 11 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock that night on both days, so that each kid, according to his or her appointment time, would actually come into the stadium with up to 4 members of his or her family, do their traditional walk across the stage, be greeted by their academy leader or their principal. We have academies, so we call them academy leaders. Be greeted by that person who would then allow them to either pick up or would give them their diploma jacket. They would then walk a little further across the stage. Their family would be standing there waiting for them on the football field. They would take a picture on the stage. Then they would recess off of the stage, and then head over to the track, which actually circulates the entire football field, where there were 2 photo booths set up so they could get professional photos taken of themselves with their families. Then they proceeded to continue the walk, where they actually came by a tent where they picked up their real diploma. They received a carnation, they received a yard sign, and we gave them a special send-off.
That's so awesome.
They walked right back out of the stadium, and the next group came in.
And when we talked, a little while ago, you said that, in a lot of ways, the graduation ceremony is maybe even more for the parents than the students. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. In my conference, when we first put out the initial idea of a virtual graduation, I had a conversation with a couple of parents, one in particular, who said, we really want to be part of this. How can we be part of this? And I asked the question, I said, well, tell me, what is it about the graduation ceremony that means the most to you? And that parent told me that, the whole notion of watching my kid walk across the stage means the world to me. And I said, okay, let me figure out some ideas, and we'll do something to make that happen. For my students in my district, again, we're diverse, and economically that's an issue. There are a lot of things that other districts might be able to do for their kids, or parents in other districts can do for their kids. I felt it was my responsibility to do anything and everything I could do to honor their graduation and make it a memorable opportunity.
That's great. That's great. So how did you feel on those days. What was it? What was the experience like?
It was good. It really was. I enjoyed, well, first of all, it was great to see kids because I hadn't seen kids in weeks. It was great to see them come into the stadium and to greet them, to see their families and have quick conversations. The atmosphere was really good. We had 2 beautiful weather days. No rain, no clouds. They were beautiful. I got sunburned on both days, so that was also part of it. But the atmosphere was really, really festive. I think kids were excited because, honestly, I think it was a much more individually targeted graduation than they would have had in general. There's no way in a traditional graduation where they have gotten the quality of pictures that they were able to take. Parents typically, they don't get to walk with their kids as they come off the stage. That doesn't happen. They're usually in the crowd or in a set of bleachers or out in the arena. So having that close-knit opportunity to do that was really, really nice. Many of our parents commented that this is actually better than the regular graduation. We might want to do this all the time. And I was like, well, we'll see how that plays out. But I think it went really, really well. We were pleased with the results. We didn't have any glitches. Our safety and security team manned the parking lot and was responsible for having families come in their cars. They had designated spaces to park in, and they were directing people in and out. They did a phenomenal job. And our committee that put together the whole graduation program, I have nothing but wonderful things to say about them. There's no way it would have been pulled off without the work they did, and they did a fantastic job.
That's so great. That's so great. Is there a particular memory that sticks out for you from those 2 days?
I honestly, there were probably a few. As kids came, I stood at the end of the procession as they were about to pick up their real diplomas, along with my chief academic officer. And just the opportunity to see them that last time as graduates and actually either shake their hands or hug them or give them a social distance elbow, whatever that might be, just made my day. One student in particular, who's one of our football players, to watch him with his parents, it was special. And to get a chance to, take pictures with them, and it was just a phenomenal experience. I really, really enjoyed it.
So
it was worth the summer.
Right. So, I talk about this a lot with school leaders. How important is it for you to have those kinds of close relationships with students?
Yeah, if I couldn't connect with kids, I wouldn't. There are enough pieces of my job that drive us crazy and make us think twice about actually doing them. It's the kids that make it worth it. So when you put in, you invest the time, you invest the effort to do certain things, and you push yourself to your brink. You figure out why you do it when you have those connections with kids, and it makes it all worth it. I think about how much planning we did for that event, how much sunscreen I had to use, how much water we consumed. It was all worth it just to watch their faces and to watch their families get so excited about this opportunity to watch their child walk. For some of them, that may be once in a lifetime, only child getting an opportunity to do that, or perhaps it's never been a high school graduation in that family before. It warmed my heart. I really enjoyed it.
So, you talked about this a little bit, but now that it's done and it's all been completed, what are some of the reactions you've gotten from everyone, from students, parents, faculty?
We've gotten extremely positive responses. I can't think of a negative response that we received. Parents were thrilled that we went the extra mile to do something. They knew we were a bit different from the norm in terms of what our area looks like, and what other districts and their graduations look like. They were happy we wanted to include such a personal opportunity for them. And they were just excited that we thought outside the box to do something pretty special. And I really think there were a number of parents who said it was more special than a typical graduation where they'd sit there for 3 or 4 hours just to hear their kid's name called, and that's it.
Obviously, this 2020 has been a tough year so far. Looking ahead to the fall and the next school year, what are your hopes for 2020, the rest of it, 2021?
Well, for one, just to get 2020 over with, that'd be great. My hopes, we're putting together our plans as far as what a school opening would be in August and or September, because we're also considering a calendar change. My hope is that I can get all of our kids in school on the first day of school, and it looks as close to ordinary as possible. Whether or not that'll be will be rational or reasonable has yet to be determined. We're putting in place we've looked at different hybrid models that would allow us to do both some in-person and virtual instruction. We also are already building a digital academy, because we had a number of parents who reached out and said they just, no matter how this plays out, they're not comfortable sending their kids back for health reasons. And again, I think it's our obligation to make sure those parents are taken care of as well. So that academy is being built. Parents will be able to enroll in that once we get all our plans in place. And it's interesting because we're putting the plan together while it's in the air, and there's just so many unknown factors that we're having to adjust to that there's no playbook for. We've never done anything like this before. Why 2020 was the year that these things happen, who knows? But I think we're getting pushed beyond what we think are our limits, and being forced to think in ways that are very non-traditional. And education cannot look the same once we come out of this.
That's great. And that's actually interesting. So do you see some positives in this situation?
I do. I think it's made us really think about our practice and how we engage kids. I think once the standardized testing age came into play back in the early 80s, mid 80s, however, I think we got so focused on skills and content and memorizing information to regurgitate on a test. That's not learning. I think this is forcing us to go back to a place where we want kids to learn for learning's sake, so they can use it, consume it, retain it, and then deploy it. That's what we're really looking at. We're looking at what our classroom environments are going to look like. We know when our kids come back, whenever that is, they're also going to bring some trauma with them that is very unusual given where we are in this pandemic. There's some social issues that are going to need to address, because kids are maturing, but they're not able to mature socially because they're not around each other. Coupling that with all of the social unrest and systemic racism issues that we want to tackle, it looks to be a very interesting and challenging year, but exciting at the same time once we get it started. One of my biggest concerns is that we get kids in school and we get things rolling, and then we have huge number spikes and we're going to have to close down again. I'm really concerned about that, but it is a distinct possibility.